And she saw it. The Faceless One. A towering figure of stretched shadow and bone. A body like a man, but wrong. Too long. Too thin. Too smooth. No eyes. No mouth. No nose, just a blank face with faint impressions of where features once were. It reached toward her with elongated fingers. Kamsi shrieked. Zara, run! But Zara froze. Because when the creature extended its hand, she heard a whisper, not with her ears, but inside her skull. Do not flee from your father. The world swayed. Kamsi grabbed her waist, hauling her forward. Don't listen. Move. Zara snapped out of the trance. They ran again. And then finally, they saw it. A massive chamber ahead, lit by silver light. Tariq gasped. That has to be it. The mirror chamber. Kamsi cried. They burst into the room. And stopped dead. The mirror chamber. The chamber was circular and vast, with crystal pillars rising like frozen lightning bolts from the floor. Suspended between the pillars were mirrors, not glass mirrors, but swirling sheets of liquid silver. Each one pulsed gently, like a heartbeat. Dozens of them lined the chamber. And the air hummed with raw, old magic. The fog floor here was solid, smooth white stone beneath their feet. Tariq turned in a slow circle. This place is incredible. Kamsi eyed the mirrors warily. Why do I feel like they're watching us? Zara walked toward the largest mirror at the center. Its surface rippled at her approach, quivering like water struck by wind. A whisper echoed from deep within the silver. Child of the forgotten bloodline. Tariq winced. Nope. Nope. That's enough magic for me today. Kamsi whispered. Zara, do you trust this thing? No, Zara admitted. But it's the only way. A thunderous crash shook the corridor behind them. The Faceless One was coming. Fast. Kamsi cried out. He's here. Tariq grabbed Zara. What does the mirror want? Zara stared at the pulsing silver. It wants to show me who I am. The chamber trembled as the Faceless One slammed into the doorway, but he didn't enter. He stopped, hissing silently, because mirrors lined every wall. The reflective surfaces warped his shadow, distorting him. Finally, he stepped inside. And the mirrors rippled violently, reacting to his presence. Zara turned toward him. The Faceless One extended his long hand. Daughter. Come. Zara lifted her chin. I am not yours. The creature's head tilted, skin stretching. Then why does the mirror obey you? The central mirror swirled faster. Zara felt her heartbeat sync with it. The mirror called. Calling her true name. Calling the truth she had never known. Behind her, Kamsi whispered in terror. Zara, what are you doing? Zara stepped into the mirror. The Faceless One roared. Too late. The silver swallowed her whole, the world did not break. It melted. Zara expected pain, expected cold, or heat, or some violent ripping as she passed through the mirror, but instead she felt herself sinking into something warm, thick, and impossibly soft. Like drifting into the womb of a giant creature made of liquid light. She couldn't breathe, yet she didn't suffocate. Couldn't see, yet she wasn't blind. Couldn't speak, yet she felt her words forming in her skull. A hum vibrated through her bones. You have returned. The voice didn't come from outside. It came from everywhere. From the silver. From her blood. From the inheritance that had waited too long. Zara tried to move, but her arms drifted like slow ribbons underwater. Tariq. Kamsi. Her voice was tiny, swallowed instantly by the humming silver. They cannot follow you here. This chamber belongs only to the blooded. To those born from the lost line. Zara closed her eyes tightly. I'm not part of any lost bloodline. You're mistaken. The silver laughed. Not unkindly. Not mocking. But with the warmth of something ancient that had seen 1,000 denials before hers. Child, you know you feel it. You always have. Zara's heart hammered. She wanted to argue. Wanted to push away every strange vision, every unnatural dream, every flicker of power she had pretended not to notice growing inside her. But her denial cracked. Just a little. A shiver passed through her, the same sensation she'd felt when the faceless one whispered daughter. Zara clenched her fists, her body floating in the silver void. If this place belongs to me, then show me who I am. The first memory, the woman with the stolen name. The silver around her darkened. Light thinned. Shapes formed slowly, like smoke curling into figures. Zara found herself standing on a dirt path under a darkening sky. A thick forest surrounded her, ancient trees lifting their crowns like guardians. A woman stood ahead. Young. Beautiful. Fierce. Her hair braided down to her waist. Her skin glowing like morning sun after rainfall. Her eyes, Zara froze. Her eyes were hers. Not similar. Not reminiscent. They were identical. The woman's chest rose and fell in panic. She was running. Her steps were silent, trained, precise, but her breaths came sharp and desperate. Someone chased her. A man or a creature hidden among shadows that leapt tree to tree, silent as hunger. The leaves trembled as he passed. Zara stepped closer, whispering, "Who are you?" The woman suddenly stopped, whipping around as though she had heard Zara. But she wasn't looking at Zara. She was looking at something behind her. A voice boomed, deep and resonant. "Isla, come back." The woman shuddered. Not in fear. In heartbreak. Isla. Zara whispered the name again. Isla. The woman, her mirror self from another lifetime, pressed her hand to her stomach, swollen with late pregnancy. Zara's breath caught. Isla whispered. "You will not take her. I will not let you." The forest groaned, branches twisting unnaturally as the thing chasing her approached. A tall shadow. Long limbs. Featureless face. The faceless one. Zara staggered backward, her heart slamming against her ribs. "He was your husband?" she whispered. The silver whispered in her mind. He loved her once. Before power devoured the man he used to be. Isla raised her hand, a burst of golden light exploding from her palm. The trees shook violently as the blast struck the faceless one, but the light barely slowed him. His body bent unnaturally, dodging, contorting, melting through the blow. He reached for her. Isla screamed and thrust her hand out again, this time tearing a shimmering tear in the air. A portal. A mirror. She stepped through it. Just before the tear closed, the faceless one roared. A sound so massive it rattled the air. Then darkness. The world dissolved again into silver. The second memory, the birth under the bleeding moon. The silver deepened, warming. It solidified into a small hut, built from clay and palm fronds. Rain pounded the roof. Thunder shook the earth. Inside, a woman in labor screamed. Zara knew that voice. Isla. 3 elderly midwives hovered around her, chanting, fanning her, holding her hands. One whispered. "She is coming. The child of mirrors." Another murmured. "This one will carry the sight." Zara's heartbeat accelerated. Isla pushed. One more time. Then another scream tore from her throat. A baby's cry echoed through the hut. Zara's breath left her in a violent gasp. The child. The child had her face. Her nose. Her birthmark beneath the left eye. Her cry was hers. Zara felt her knees weakening. "That's me," she whispered. "Oh God, that's me." Isla, panting, took the baby into her trembling arms. She kissed the child's head. "My Zara. My hidden light. Zara cried. Hot tears. Real. Painful. Isla looked around urgently. The hunters, the shadows, they will come. One midwife nodded. We will hide her. But Isla, you cannot stay. He will find you. Isla kissed baby Zara again. Her tears fell onto the baby's forehead and glowed like fire. I give you my sight. A flare of light spread from her fingers. I give you my name. Another burst of gold. I give you my strength, my last wish. A third flare lit the hut. Baby Zara glowed softly. Isla sobbed and handed her to the midwives. Run, she whispered. Take her far. He must never find her. Suddenly, the hut shook violently. The faceless one's voice thundered outside. Isla, where is she? Thunder exploded. The world shattered. The silver swallowed the memory. The third memory, the mother's death. Silver hardened beneath her feet, forming rocky ground. A cliff edge. Lightning sliced open the sky. Rain drenched everything in sheets. Isla stood at the edge, exhausted, wounded. Her arms empty. The faceless one approached through the storm, not walking, floating, his long form drifting above the ground. Isla screamed. She will not be yours. The faceless one reached toward her. Not gently. With hunger. Give her back, Isla. She belongs to me. Isla lifted her hands. Golden energy flickered around her fingers, but it was faint, weak. Too weak. Isla whispered. Then kill me. The faceless one rose taller. Rain hissed around him. As you wish. He reached out. A black lash of energy shot from his hand. It struck Isla in the chest. Zara screamed in horror as Isla's body jerked violently. Then Isla fell. Over the cliff. Her body vanishing into the roaring river below. No! Zara cried, falling to her knees in the silver memory. Mama, no! But the silver did not stop. It made her watch as the faceless one stood at the cliff's edge, silent, trembling. Because she realized. He wasn't angry. He wasn't victorious. He was crying. The memory blurred, warped, dissolved. Zara choked back tears. Her mother died because of her. Because of the blood in her veins. Because of what she was. A weapon. A heir. A daughter of a cursed man who had lost his soul. The silver void returned to the present. Zara found herself floating again in the silver womb. Her fists clenched. Her jaw shaking. She whispered through gritted teeth. I am not his daughter. I am not his heir. I owe him nothing. The silver pulsed. You do not owe him. But you owe yourself the truth. Zara trembled. Why show me this? Why now? Because he has awakened. Because he has your scent. Because you are the only one who can end him. Zara's blood froze. End him, how? The silver darkened. A shape formed. A mirror. But not of silver. Of obsidian. Black. Cold. Dead. Upon its surface a small crack glowed faintly. The mirror of severance. Forged for one purpose. To kill the faceless one. Zara stepped forward. How? The silver spoke slowly, its voice ancient. You must let him touch it. Just once. He avoids mirrors, Zara whispered. He hates reflections. Which is why he will fear this one most. Zara's breath quickened. So I use it, to stop him. No. You use it to free him. Zara's heart skipped. Free him? The faceless one wears his curse like skin. Destroy the curse, and he will die with it. In death, he will finally rest. Zara bowed her head. Her tears fell into the silver and evaporated instantly. Am I strong enough? The silver hummed. You are Isla's child. You carry the sight. You carry the gift. Zara wiped her face. Then send me back. The return. Silver rose around her. Warming. In closing. The world above called her. Kamsi's voice. Tarek's panic. The Faceless One's roar. The silver whispered its final instruction. Break the mirror. Free the monster. End the bloodline. Zara took a deep breath. I'm ready. The silver exploded in light. Zara was thrown out of the mirror, landing hard on the stone floor of the mirror chamber. Tarek screamed. Zara! Kamsi nearly fainted. The Faceless One turned sharply toward her. But Zara! Zara stood tall. Her eyes glowing gold. Her palms blazing. Her mother's power alive inside her. And behind her, floating from the mirror's surface, the mirror of severance. Small. Black. Deadly. It hovered toward her hand like it had been waiting centuries. She caught it. Cold pulsed into her skin. The Faceless One stepped back, for the first time. You, he rasped, should not have seen those memories. Zara lifted the mirror. I saw the truth. The chamber shook. Mirrors cracked. Silver flared. Kamsi clung to Tarek as the world trembled around them. Zara advanced, her voice steadier than her heartbeat. You killed my mother. I loved your mother, he thundered. I lost her. I lost everything. You killed her, she shouted. He roared. A sound that shook the cavern like a collapsing mountain. Zara raised the obsidian mirror. The mirror of severance flashed. The Faceless One lunged. And the chapter ends with them colliding. Light exploding. Darkness screaming. Bloodlines breaking. The chamber cracking. And the mirror shattering between them. As their destinies collided last, the sound of glass exploding into 1,000 shards tore through the mirror chamber. Silver splinters of the mirror of severance floated like frozen fire in the air, slicing the walls of the chamber, reflecting distorted images of Zara, the Faceless One, and the chaotic void that had been their battlefield. Zara staggered back, her hands trembling from the force of the collision. The shards of obsidian that had once been the mirror pulsed with an unnatural energy, each fragment vibrating in resonance with her blood, with the memory she had absorbed, with the pulse of the long-dead Isla flowing in her veins. The Faceless One hit the floor like a falling monument, cracking the stone beneath him. Dust and fog swirled as his elongated shadow slithered across the chamber like a living darkness. His blank face, featureless, horridly smooth, shimmered under the fractured light. Yet, for the first time, fear, or something like it, crept into his towering form. Zara steadied herself, her golden eyes blazing like molten light. Her chest heaved, yet beneath the exhaustion, a pulse of power rose from deep within. Isla's gift, her mother's legacy, coursed through her limbs like liquid fire. She was no longer a child running from shadows, she was the heir of the bloodline, the culmination of love and rage, memory and vengeance. You cannot escape this, child, the Faceless One hissed, rising like a living nightmare. His movements were unnatural, fluid yet violent, each step tearing the fog beneath him. You carry what I lost, what I destroyed. Give it to me. Zara's gaze hardened. I am not what you want. You cannot have me. You will not take me as you took her. He lunged again, faster than thought. Fingers stretched impossibly, claws scraping the walls, creating deep gouges that glowed faintly with residual silver light. Every strike was accompanied by a roar that rattled the chamber, an echo that could have split mountains. But Zara was ready. She moved like water, flowing around him, her hands tracing the remaining shards of the shattered mirror. Each shard responded to her touch, vibrating violently, aligning themselves in the air around her. It was as though the mirror of severance was reforming, not as a weapon, but as a conduit, a channel for her mother's power and her own. Stop! Stop! You cannot hold her, the faceless one screamed, his voice cracking. Rage, despair, and longing all blending into one terrifying timbre. Zara whispered under her breath, drawing from the mirror shards, I am not your weapon. I am the end of this. She hurled the shards forward. The fragments spun and merged midair, creating a sphere of obsidian light that pulsed with Isla's essence. The faceless one recoiled, raising his elongated arms to protect himself. The air exploded in sound and fury as the sphere collided with him. Time seemed to stretch. Inside the sphere, Zara saw visions: Isla clutching her newborn, running through storms, the faceless one striking the hut, the river, the cliff, the screams. Every memory of his obsession, of his grief, of his cruelty, was compressed into shards of light and shadow. And within it, Zara's own heartbeat pulsed, a drumbeat of resistance. The faceless one's form distorted, shadows bending into shapes of what he had been and what he had lost. His head arched back as a silent scream tore from within him, swallowed by the obsidian sphere. The chamber trembled. Crystal pillars cracked. Mirrors exploded outward like fireworks of silver and black. Then came the flash. A light so pure, so blinding that it burned through darkness, through stone, through memory itself. It was Isla's love, Zara's bloodline, the final spark of what the faceless one had forgotten, humanity. The shadow screeched, a sound that vibrated through the very bones of the earth, tearing fog and stone alike. He lunged, one final strike, and the obsidian sphere engulfed him completely. The chamber became still. Even the echoes seemed to hold their breath. When the light dimmed, Zara was on her knees, panting, exhausted beyond reason. Around her, the mirror chamber lay in ruin, shattered crystals, blackened stones, and floating fragments of silver light that twinkled like fallen stars. The faceless one was gone, or was he? From the depths of the obsidian sphere, a form emerged. No longer towering and faceless, but crumpled, mortal, human-sized. His shadow still clung to him, but it was weaker, fractured, torn. For the first time, Zara saw eyes ancient, haunted, but finally human. You, he rasped, voice trembling. What have you done? I've ended what you became, Zara said, her voice low, steady, unwavering. You were lost, but now you can finally rest. He looked at her, his elongated hands curling and uncurling like leaves in wind. His lips trembled as he tried to speak, but words failed him. The power that had driven him to destroy, to seek, to kill, had been severed. The curse that had held him like a living weapon of grief and shadow was gone. For the first time in centuries, silence filled the chamber. Not empty, not fearful, but calm. The fog beneath them receded, curling upward and vanishing like breath on cold glass. The shards of the mirror clattered to the floor, harmless now, dormant. Tariq and Kamsi ran to her, faces pale, eyes wide with awe and disbelief. Zara, Kamsi whispered, voice trembling. You did it. Zara nodded slowly, brushing shards of silver from her hands. It's over, for now. Aftermath of light and shadow. The chamber remained a ruin, but the oppressive weight that had once choked it was gone. Cracks in the walls glimmered faintly, residual energy of the shattered mirror still hovering, but benign, almost reverent. The faceless one, now human, now mortal, sat slumped against a broken pillar. His elongated limbs had shortened, his form weakened, but in his eyes, for the first time, flickers of recognition, remorse, and perhaps gratitude appeared. Zara knelt a few feet away, keeping her hands clasped tightly. Her blood still sang with power, yet she felt Isla's presence like a warm wind behind her, steadying her, reminding her of the line she had inherited, the legacy she had finally embraced. Tariq swallowed audibly. Is he alive? Zara exhaled slowly. Yes, but only because he's human now. He's not a monster anymore. That's enough. Kamsi sat on the floor, trembling. We just survived centuries of horror. He could have. Zara held up a hand. He could have, yes. But the bloodline, the gift, it protected us. He's free from the curse, but so is the world above. The obsidian shards shimmered faintly, now inert, like a resting heart. No longer a weapon. No longer a prison. Only a reminder of what had been endured and what had been inherited. Outside the chamber, rain began to fall softly. Lightning flashed, but no roar of shadow followed. The mirror chamber, a place of horrors, a crucible of history, had finally released its hold. The final test of bloodlines. Zara stood, golden light fading from her eyes, exhaustion pressing on every limb. She looked at the humanized faceless one, at the man who had once been her mother's killer, her Isla's tormentor, and the reason the bloodline had been fractured. "You must leave," she said quietly. "Go. Live. Learn what it means to be human. If you linger here, you could hurt again." He nodded, slow, tentative, his voice hoarse. I don't deserve mercy." "You deserve a chance," Zara said. "Not because of what you did, but because of what you can become now." For a long moment, he simply stared at her. Then, without a word, he turned and walked toward the shattered mirrors at the far end of the chamber. Each step echoed like a promise, like the faint heartbeat of a man who might finally learn to forgive himself. The mirrors refracted the storm outside: rain, lightning, the remnants of the world Zara had fought to protect. And as he stepped through the largest shard, the obsidian fragment cracked and vanished completely. No trace of the curse remained. Zara exhaled, a sound that carried the weight of centuries. She felt the fatigue crushing her body, yet also a sense of completeness, of destiny fulfilled. The chamber had tested her. It had shown her grief, power, inheritance, and choice. And she had emerged, changed, tempered, ready. Kamsi stepped forward hesitantly. "So, it's done?" "For now," Zara replied. "But power like this, like the bloodline, doesn't rest forever. It only waits for the next call." Tariq shook his head. "I swear. I will never underestimate you again, Zara. Never. You've lived through something no one else could survive." Zara managed a weak smile. "We survived, because we remembered. Because we fought. Because we refused to run." The shattered shards of mirror twinkled faintly as if nodding in agreement. Outside, the storm began to clear. Silver clouds parted to reveal the first hint of dawn. Light fell across the ruined pillars of the mirror chamber, reflecting off broken glass and twisted crystal, painting a mosaic of history, bloodline, and survival. Zara looked at the horizon. She didn't know what awaited them: more challenges, more shadows, more fragments of the past, but she did know one thing: the power she had inherited was not just for vengeance. It was for justice. For protection. For the ones who could not fight for themselves. And somewhere, deep within her, she could hear Isla's voice once more, whispering, warm and steady. "You are the light. You are the heir. You are the bloodline. And now, you choose." Zara clenched her fists. Her golden eyes flared one last time. The chamber no longer had power over her. She was no longer a child of fear. She was the heir of centuries of memory, of loss, of courage. And with that realization, she stepped forward into the dawn. The world awaited. But the bloodline, the legacy, and the light of Isla were hers. Forever. The first rays of dawn spilled over the horizon, painting the fractured mirror chamber in hues of amber and silver. Broken shards of glass and obsidian lay scattered like forgotten stars across the cracked floor. Fog, once suffocating and oppressive, had lifted, curling into wisps that danced lazily along the ruined pillars. The storm had passed. But the weight of what had transpired, the screams, the shattering, the bloodline's legacy, still pressed on Zara's shoulders like a living thing. She stepped carefully across the chamber, her boots striking shards that tinkled faintly, echoing like distant bells. Kamsi and Tariq followed behind, still trembling, their eyes wide as if the world itself had been remade overnight. Zara breathed deeply, letting the cool morning air wash over her. Her heart still pounded, and yet, for the first time in decades or centuries, there was clarity. The faceless one was gone, his curse severed. The mirror of severance, shattered and inert, had fulfilled its purpose. And she, Zara, was alive. She turned toward the largest shard, now lying flat on the ground, black and dull. A faint glow still pulsed from its core, almost imperceptible. She knelt and placed her hand over it. The energy within whispered to her. Not commands, not threats. Just understanding. Your bloodline has survived. The legacy endures. And now, the world calls. The world above. The mirror chamber had been hidden for centuries, a crucible beneath the mountains of Enugu, a place of power and terror known only to those who dared to traverse the deepest layers of myth. But above, life continued. Villages stirred, forests breathed, and the city beyond the mountains awakened to another dawn. Zara, Kamsi, and Tariq climbed the fractured stone steps leading from the chamber. Each step felt heavier than the last, though not from exhaustion, but from the gravity of destiny. Every movement was a reminder, they had survived something few living beings had witnessed, and the consequences of the bloodline they carried would not end here. At the mouth of the chamber, sunlight caught Zara's eyes. Her golden irises reflected the morning like molten metal. She felt power thrumming through her veins, but it was controlled now. Focused. She could sense it bending to her will, not the other way around. Kamsi's voice broke the silence. Zara, we're alive. Yes, Zara whispered, her gaze on the horizon. But surviving isn't enough. Not anymore. Tariq squinted at her. What do you mean? We beat him. The curse is gone. Isn't that enough? Zara shook her head. No. That was only the beginning. What we faced beneath was not the final battle. There are others who will seek the power of the bloodline. Others who will try to harness it, to twist it like he did. And we are the only ones who can stop them. Kamsi swallowed. You mean, there are more? Zara's jaw tightened. Yes. And they will come. The bloodline carries responsibility not just for our lives, but for the lives of everyone above and below these mountains. The shattered faced one. They descended the final steps. Outside, the mountains were bathed in soft, golden light. The storm had passed, leaving rivers swollen, soil-soaked, and the air charged with freshness. Birds called from distant trees, and somewhere below, the first sounds of a village morning reached them. But Zara's focus was on him. She had not forgotten the faceless one. Not entirely. He was alive, mortal now, but a human still could kill, still could harm. She had severed the curse, but had she truly freed him? Or merely delayed the shadow that lingered in human form? A faint movement caught her attention. Through the morning mist, a figure approached along the cliffside path. Slender, hunched, cautious, but unmistakably alive. The faceless one. He walked slowly, deliberately. No roar this time. No aggression. Only eyes haunted, confused, human eyes fixed on her. Zara did not move immediately. She let him approach. When he was close, she raised her voice. Do you understand what I did? He nodded slowly, though his hands trembled. I feel lighter. But the weight, it is still inside me. The rage, the grief, it does not vanish so easily. It will take time, Zara said. The bloodline does not forgive quickly, nor do I. But you have a choice now, a chance to live differently. To be human. To see the world as others do, not as a shadow of vengeance. He lowered his head, his form shrinking almost with shame. I do not deserve your mercy. You deserve the chance, Zara replied. Because now, the burden is yours to bear. Not mine. Not your mother's. Yours. The first encounter with the living enemy. They made their way down the mountains into the plains below. Villages appeared in clusters, smoke curling from chimneys, children chasing each other along dirt paths. Life continued, unaware of the horrors that had unfolded beneath their feet. But life always notices the ripple of power. As Zara, Kamsi, and Tariq reached the outskirts of a small town, Zara felt it, a tremor, faint but distinct. Not from the earth. From presence. Something alive. Calculating. Dangerous. Stay close, Zara warned. It's not over. Someone sensed the bloodline. Someone is coming. A figure emerged from the mist ahead. Cloaked in black, moving with purpose. There was no hesitation in their step, only precision. Eyes locked on Zara, unblinking, analyzing, predatory. Tarek stepped in front of her. What is that? Zara narrowed her eyes. Not human, or at least, not fully. The bloodline draws attention. Whoever they are, they've been waiting for this moment, just as he did. The figure stopped. A hood fell back, revealing a face carved with scars, tattoos that glimmered faintly in the dawnlight. Their eyes burned with a mixture of greed and respect, recognizing the power within Zara. You are, the figure hissed, the one born of the lost line. The daughter of fire and shadow. The child who survived the faceless one. Zara's voice was firm. I am Zara. And you will not touch anyone I protect. The figure laughed softly, coldly. Protect? You cannot even protect yourself. The bloodline is mine to claim. And now that you have awakened it, it will be mine to bend. Kamsi stepped back, trembling. Zara, what do we do? Zara's hands glowed faintly as she drew on the inherited power coursing through her veins. We fight. And we survive. Just like before. The figure stepped closer, summoning shadows that coiled around their legs like living snakes. The air grew thick, charged with danger. Zara's eyes flared gold. If you want the bloodline, you will earn it with your life. The first blow landed, a clash of shadow and light that sent shockwaves rippling across the plains. The battle had begun not in the mountains, not beneath the mirror chamber, but in the open world, where the bloodline's true purpose would be tested. The awakening of the bloodline. As Zara fought, she realized something new. The shards of the mirror of severance, though shattered, had left a residue in her blood. She could feel it, not just as power, but as memory, as knowledge, as instinct. Every movement, every strike, every step was guided by generations of survivors, of warriors, of Isla herself.